out how to stay young. Always learn new things and go for big adventures. Last year on an African safari with his daughters, we heard time and time again, your dad is amazing. We also thought so. Then in one of his misadventures in Beijing, his Chinese orthopedist who trained in Texas told me, everybody love your daddy. So on our most recent trip this week, we wanted to go on a Segway tour, but we were deferred by an upper age limit of 65. 65? Have you met my dad? It was very disappointing. But anyway, he managed to get by with some power snorkeling and a jet ski adventure. So anyway, next month he's off to Cuba, and I can't wait to see what he does for his 90th. Happy birthday, Dad.
I'm not really worthy of being his partner, but I'm learning a huge amount. Anyway, a poem, The Big 8-0 for Ed. Now, if you were to ask Ed Mitchell his age, he will pause to consider your views. He is apt to sound like a math-loving sage and ask you what system you use. 120, he'll say with a smile. That's exactly 8 squared plus another twice 8. That's what he'll tell you without any guile, because it's with octal engineers calculate. By the way, how many engineers do I have in here? Well, there'll be a few. All right, good. That verse and the next one will make sense to you. But after a cruise, when he doesn't feel old, he'll announce he has reached the big 5-0. Then add with a grin, that's hexadecimal code for a guy who's just drunk his 4th red Bordeaux. As Ed's partner in bridge, I will swear that I, Dick, have seen him push rivals to a level of 4, then double and watch them go down by a trick as he shouts, 200's a really good score. And after each hand, as he remembers each card and when it was played and by whom, it's then that I know that my lead was so marred that I should retire and go straight to my room. And when he plays tennis, this really tall guy who reaches way up for an overhead smash intimidates others as the ball whistles by, like Rafael Nadal or a young Arthur Ashe. As an athlete and scholar, all rolled into one, Ed talks of the Red Sox and vast cyberspace. His stature, it seems, is second to none. Thank God we have Barbara to put him in place. I've been asked to introduce Yaakov Cohn. Ed and Yak were to climb Mount Shikora, right close to my home in New Hampshire, our home in New Hampshire, and we had invited them over for lunch. And Yak was telling about how it was that his parents were escaping the Nazis and took the Trans-Siberian Railroad across Russia, got one of the last ships out of Vladivostok to Japan and to the United States. And he pointed out that this was all possible because he had a relative that was going to sponsor him, find him a place to live and a job. Later in the conversation, it turned to my wife's new book, which was a history of Pea Porridge Pond, where we live. And it had lots of photographs of the early settlers and so forth. And he showed it to Yak. And Yak was going through it and suddenly said, "Oh my God! Oh my God!" And he was pointing at the book. And there was a picture of the camp and the man from whom we had bought it, Martin Morton, And he said, Martin Morton was my father's cousin. He's the man that brought us to this country. And I said to him, if Martin Morton is your dad's cousin, your second cousin, Tony, lives right next door. He said, Tony, I haven't seen Tony in 60 years. And so it was. That chance meeting led to this incredible story and a reconciliation with lost cousins. And so, Yak, it's a great pleasure for me to introduce you to the group.
Toast is an example of a triumph of optimism over experience. Because the Mitchells asked me to give a toast at an earlier family gathering some years ago, and boy, I had a good time. It was obscene, it was embarrassing, it was humiliating, it was, and somehow apparently they think that I must have grown up in the last 10 or 15. But I think the topic will keep me more or less straight. We'll see if I'm able to rise to the occasion. So I've known Ed since 1969. In fact, our first real trip together, as I recall, was this Thanksgiving weekend in 1969, 44 years ago.
Wow.
We climbed Mount Chikorowa together. My beard was 2 weeks old at the time. That's how I remember it. It snowed. I don't remember if we were on snowshoes or what, but I had met Ed at Raytheon, and so, I mean, we are as different as could be. I'm hot, Jewish, he's cool, waspy. Privacy is an unknown concept to me. I'll tell you anything about me you want to know. Ed is a private, discreet. He's dignified. He's British, and he's got the perfect British accent. It speaks of erudition and scholarship without that plumby, snobby stuff. It was really quite a remarkable thing, and I must say I probably idealized Ed to a great extent. I mean, I hear that he's only 5'6", but to my eyes, he's 6'5". So as we got together, I worked for him, but that wasn't the basis. We began pursuing, or Ed would follow me, as I recall it, into one sport after another. That was a time when I was driven to go on to long-distance bicycle rides and canoeing in icy rivers and snowshoeing and cross-country skiing. And Ed, my sense of it was he followed me along. He came with me in all these crazy things. He became backpacking with me. Man had a terrible back. I had to lift his pack for him and every stuff. But off we went. And at one time, Ed says to me, Yak, he says, why is it everything that we do together only feels good when we stop? That itself also says something about us. But over the years, despite his reserve and the stiff British upper lip, and I still cringe at the time, I said to him, I don't know what I was upset about. Your upper lip is so stiff, you could shovel snow with it. And it's not true. I actually was looking at pictures recently of our 25th wedding anniversary celebration, and Ed cried. I know this is a secret he doesn't want revealed. He had tears. I mean, he wasn't blubbery the way Barbara was. He made believe it was a sudden allergy attack of some sort. I mean, that image of being above that shabby emotional stuff, wasn't quite true. Anyway, we would go off on our bicycle rides, and again, everything was always intense. There was none of this, let's cruise along at 8 miles an hour. It was more like, can we do the 100-mile ride in 8 hours this year instead of 10? So we can't stop to eat because we really had to crank it. Why don't we eat raisins as we go, and so we don't have to stop, and the raisins will quickly turn into energy, and we'll be able to crank along. Well, I don't know if anyone knows anything about method gas and mammals, but it doesn't work all that simply. And so we're cranking along, and suddenly it was like, God, what an odor. and a few times, and I suddenly realized Ed is, letting them go, and he's deliberately to hit me. And I remember thinking, I remember thinking at the time, Ed farts. In a British accent, he still farts. It's really not an exaggeration. I mean, I love Ed. I love his family. I feel like family to the children. The family's triumphs are a source of joy to me. When there are trials, they're a source of pain to me. When the younger son hesitates and drags his feet to get married.
Yay!
It's a source of wonder and aggravation. I only wish I had the nerve to tell him to get and take care of business. She's not going to wait for you forever. When a woman looks at you with love in her eyes like that, don't wait. You gotta pull off your side of the bargain. But so, I mean, to be serious, well, I mean, just actually, now that I think about it, another example of, how I love the Mitchell family and how special they are to me. I'm going to reveal this really odd, ugly story from our Judy and I's married life.
Oh no!
We went on a weekend with a couple of former friends, and they proposed a wife swap. I mean, I'm thinking, I'm not going to violate my moral and religious and ethical principles for anyone other than Ed and Barbara. I haven't completely grown up. But again, I mean, when Ed came into my life, it was a blessing. I know you don't like to talk in those words, God, but it really was a blessing to my life. It's been like 44 years, and every encounter has been wonderful, and I've grown, and I've learned a lot. Well, among other things, given that he really is 6'5", I learned from Ed that I was getting bald. I didn't know. And I'm kind of worried. My hair's turning gray. Yeah, I don't think you need to worry about your hair turning gray. You need to worry about keeping it. And he turned out to be right. Not that I would have a full head of hair if it wasn't for Ed, but at least I had some time to prepare. But again, to be serious, you've enriched my life, you and your entire family. And if you'll indulge me, I know you don't believe in this stuff, but as it happens, some of you may know I'm a hereditary Jewish priest, and we are authorized to deliver a benediction. It doesn't come from us, it's the benediction from the Lord, who some of us don't believe doesn't exist. And let me say, may the Lord bless you and keep watch over you. May the Lord lift his
Countenance
upon you and care for you. May he shine his face upon you, and you may notice I'm doing it in Hebrew because that's how.
And you're struggling on it.
Well, in Hebrew, I can write it out. May God shine his countenance upon you and bring you peace and fulfillment in a full life.
Thank you.
Yaakov up at Gulf Harbor, and here were these wonderful people that joined us. And there's certain people that are boaters, and you get along, and except at the bridge table, I quit on that. My husband didn't quit because he appreciated Ed's ability, but Barbara and I understand each other. I just want to say, I'm so appreciative to be here. I mean, you are just so special people, and you hung in your space.
Special to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.